my next question is about the Grammy Award experience. So basically, when you went to the Grammy ceremony, how was the entire experience while walking on the entire red carpet? You know, while walking on to the stage, accepting the Grammy. Like, what was your mind going through? And like, can you share that experience with us?
Well, the experience actually started, what, had been almost a year earlier when I started working on the project with Quincy.
Of course,
And
yeah.
it was an interesting thing all the way around because at the time, excuse me, at the time, Quincy's regular engineer is Bruce Houdin, right? And Bruce Houdin is like, he and Al and they're like the legends, right? So Bruce at the time is producing Michael Jackson's History record. And he's very
Mm-hmm.
deep. So Quincy calls his production coordinator, Jolie Levine, who happened to be the production coordinator on almost every record I had ever worked on up to that point. And she called me up and she said, hey, Quincy Jones is starting his new record and he's looking for an engineer. Would you be interested? No. I couldn't say the words, couldn't get the words out of my mouth fast enough. But of course, as soon as I said, well, yeah, it was like, oh my God, do you know whose shoes I'm stepping into? I'm stepping in, and this is what I say about me, I look back at my life, and it was like, what was I doing? I just, Jolie, I've known Jolie for years, and we've, she's Glenn Dollar's production coordinator, so all the records I made with Glenn, she was the production coordinator, right? And we were friends, no doubt about it, and I don't know who else was on her list, right? But to call me, so the project was very interesting because it was supposed to be, at least this was the way it was presented to me, right? I was signed on for 4 days. It was going to be a live album, right? I was going to go in the day after Thanksgiving and we were going to cut the entire album with the band, basic structure of the band, right? And then Al Schmidt was going to come in and do the big band horns. And then Mick Gazowski was going to come in and set up the mixes. And the artists were going to come in and sing to the mixes as they went down. So semi-live, cut the band fully. When you're done with the band, that's it. Bring in the big band horns. You're done with the big band horns, boom, that's it. Bring in the vocalist, set up the mix, bring in the vocalist, and wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, mix. Right.
Right.
So the first day I come in, and it's all this talk about he's got a new idea. He wants to go down to the vault and he wants to pull up old masters and peel off the vocal and recut the band. Like, well, that's kind of a left turn.
Right.
So they pull up Fly Me to the Moon, if I do recall, 3-track. And right away, the problem is that, yeah, it's 3-track, the band's on 2 and Frank's on the 3rd, but he's in the room with the band. No headphones, right? So you can't peel him off, right? So at that point, I mean, I wasn't in the inner circle, so I really wasn't sure what was happening, but we were kind of, I don't want to use the word partying, but we were kind of partying at Capitol while they were trying to figure out what direction this record was going to go in, right? The luxury of working with Quincy Jones.
Of course, yeah. Also, I believe you guys worked at Westlake, right?
Well, we started at Capitol. We started the first 4. The story was, like I said, 4 days at Capitol, right? And then I was done. That was it. I was just going to do those 4 days, and then I was finished, right? Well, at the end of 4 days, I think we cut the basics for 1 or 2 tracks, maybe, right? So literally, we got almost nothing done at Capitol, right? So I told Jolie, I said, well, this is what you contracted me for, was 4 days, but I'll clear my calendar for next week, and if Quincy needs me, I'm available. Okay. So I worked on that album for 7.5 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was, if that was the only record I ever did in my career, I would have filled my resume as it did, right? But because of the people that came in that time, because it was like, today we're going to do this song. There were days when I came in the studio not really knowing what was going to happen. There were people that showed up that I didn't know were coming. There were people that showed up that I didn't really know who they were, and I felt bad after I found out who they were. But Quincy was like, "Oh, this, and this guy came in, and Quincy was like talking him up. I didn't have the internet at that time to go put this guy in name and who is it? It's like I never knew what was going to happen, but it was the greatest thing in the world because I had to be prepared for anything.
Right. Of course, yeah.
Going to walk in the door, right? So that was the fun bit, was that I was given free reign because Quincy doesn't question John Robinson on the way he plays the drums. He might say to him, I need a little more when you come in, right? He's not going to tell the bass line. He's going to say, Nathan, maybe a little less. He might give him little suggestions, but he's not going to tell him what to play, right? He never, my technique, ever said that. One of the things he did find out very quickly on, we did that record on the Blackface ADATs. And this was a big thing because this was really was the proving that these little bits of technology really work. Because before that, no one was using them to make records, right? And here comes this crazy man who's going to do a Quincy Jones album on these Blackface ADATs. So after having done it, it was like, okay, time for Bruce Sweeney. Okay, so now I'm going to take the recordings that I've done and give them to arguably the finest recording engineer in the world, who's going to mix, which means he's going to go over what I did with an absolute fine-tooth comb. He's going to turn over every rock, and he's going to solo every track, and he's going to hear every more than that. Right? So I was terrified when I handed the tapes over to him. But what we did in the end, we took all those ADATs because that's a sea of tapes to swim, right? And we comped them all down to 48-track digital Sony. So he had it all on one machine, right?
Right.
So after the record was done and mixed, I read an interview with Bruce where he said it was the easiest record he ever mixed because everything was right where it was supposed to be.
Wow.
He didn't mention
That's
my
commendable.
name, but he did. You know what I mean? And that to me, it's like the greatest compliment is that you did your freaking gig.
That's true, man. Yeah. I'm so blessed to have studied under a person like you, so experienced and...
Well, hopefully the thing that I got across to you is that I don't know nothing. Okay?
Yeah.
I do know how to get stuff into a console, and I do know how to get it out. And I do know how the machinery works. And that's the thing that I can pass on because I can't show you how to compress, and I've told you this in class, I can't show you how to compress a vocal. I can show you how to compress this vocal or that vocal, but my short little comeback when people say, how do you compress a vocal? I say, with a compressor.
Right. Yeah, every vocal sounds different and has different dynamics and stuff.
Yeah. It's like microphone selection. I know when Bruce Sweeney was doing Thriller with Michael Jackson, that there's 3 different microphones. He's using different mics on different songs.
Right, yeah.
He's kind of doing a little bit of signal processing by selecting the microphone because the microphone itself is going to add or subtract something from the sound. That's why he's picking microphone. That's why we use the term coloration on a microphone. I like the color of this microphone.
Color, right.
This microphone. That's what they're talking about.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, again, getting back to the Grammy Award experience, can you speak on that a bit?
It's a record we were done and we put it out and it was great. And it went to number 1. It was 7 weeks on the jazz charts at number 1. So it was, and then the Grammy process starts. Right, and I hear that it got submitted for nomination. Yeah, amongst 280 others. In fact, you get the book, and it's like a telephone book. I mean, it's like you're like going through there trying to find, and you find your name. It's like, wow, cool. And you wait a couple of months and that gets vetted down to another smaller number, like 30 or something like that, which now only Grammy voting members get to vote on, right? And your name is still there. It's like, wow. And it's like, oh man, I don't know what's worse, you know? And then it comes to the 5 and it's like, you know, you go, and it's, I literally stopped breathing for a second, you know, and it was like, oh my God, you know? And look what I'm up against. I'm up against Toto and, you know, I forget who the other ones were, right? And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna get vested in this, man. The honor is the nomination, man. And then you can see hanging up there the white box. That's the you get a like a medallion that's hanging up there,
Okay.
and that's cool, right? And I just was like, no. When we went to New York, my mother-in-law came to stay with the kids while the wife and I flew to New York. And my mother-in-law clears a place in the mantle. I said, no, mom, don't do that. Don't do that. I don't want to walk home and see that empty spot on the mantle. You know. So we went to New York, and the show is where they give out the technical awards. It's the pre-show. You know.
Right.
Okay, so it's me and my wife and Bruce and his wife and Al and Tommy Vicari. It's the 4 of us that are the award winners, right? And
Wow.
they give, and it's David Foster and I forget who else was doing they were the MCs, right? And they envelope and they said, okay, the nominations for Best Engineering Non-Classical for Quincy Jones, blah, 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 for blah, blah, blah. And he went through the whole thing and he said, and the winner is, and my hearing, I went deaf. I'm not kidding you. It was like,
Wow.
and my wife is like, she's like, and it's like I see Bruce and Al and Tommy get up and like she pushes me out because I'm on the aisle.
Wow.
It's like it's the real world where I can't hear, right? So I kind of wait for the guys and I follow them up on stage because, you know what, I'm going to lead Bruce, Al, and Tommy up on stage. I'm going to follow them up on stage, right? And they hand all of you an award. You get to say a couple of, and then poof, you're off of there. And as I'm walking back off stage, all of a sudden, my head clears up because I'm the whole time. I'm like, I can't hear. I literally cannot hear.
Oh my God.
As soon as I get backstage, it's like, boom. I got the Grammy in my hand, and it's like, wow. And Quincy's not there. He's not there for the show, right? And I look up, and there's his assistant. I forget the guy's name. And he hands me a cell phone. And it's Quincy on the cell phone.
Wow. Crazy.
He said to me, Francis, I want to talk to you first. I said, really? He goes, yeah. I wanted to call you right away as soon as I heard who won the Grammy. He goes, look, man, Bruce has got all the records. Al's got all the Grammys. He said, you and me, we had all the fun.
Yeah, that's what matters. Yeah. Crazy.
How humble, how humble of a man that he's going to call, he's going to call me right there and then to say,
Right.
It was like, wow.
Wow. That's an incredible experience, man. I hope I get that experience someday.
Yeah. I mean, again, I go, yeah, I worked really hard on that record. I'm proud of the crazy things that we did with technology, man. We were flying by the seat of our pants. This was before we were in the transition from tape-based recording to hard disk, right? Now,
Right.
The thing that looked like a tape machine with open reels, right? Mm-hmm. Machines that were still on tape, but they were in cartridges, right? So it was a VHS, and the D88 was a little 8-track.
24 track? Okay, 8 millimeter. Right.
They were systems, right? We used Pro Tools at the very, very end of the record. At the beginning of Q's Jook Joint, it's kind of the whole idea is this is all taking place in Quincy's bar, right? The Jook Joint, it's the bar, right? So at the beginning, there's a voice collage of people trying to get in the club. And there's music going on, you can hear the band in the background, whatnot, and all these voices, and it's like, it's Shaq, and it's Cindy Crawford, and it's like all these people that had come in and out of the session, and Quincy got all this voice stuff and stole some bits and pieces of, you know, from around this little things and put this voice collage together. And we went, you know what would be best for this? Would be Pro Tools. It's 8 tracks. I can do all this crazy stuff. Not enough to put a song in, but we could build this. So they brought in, I didn't run the Pro Tools because I didn't have Pro Tools at the time. They brought in, and we put all the stuff in and told them what to do. Talked about live. So that was, from my thinking, the first time Pro Tools was used on Quincy's record, but I might be wrong, but I think it was the first time. I don't think they did any on Back in the Block. I think that was still all an analog tape.
Right. Wow. That's crazy, man.